Our last section of Chapter 8, Section 3, covers markdowns, multiple operations, and perishable goods. So first, a markdown, what I want you to know about this is that it's a price reduction from the original selling price. A markdown cancellation is when you raise prices back to the original selling price after a sale is over. And the sale price is the promotional price of merchandise after a markdown. So first, let's look at determining the amount of markdown. So what we do here is we take the original selling price minus the sale price. It's pretty straightforward. So if a coffee maker originally sold for $59.99 and was marked down $47.90, what's the amount of the markdown? We subtract the two. The amount of markdown was $12.09. Now we're going to look at finding the markdown percent. So the markdown is the portion, the original selling price is the base. All we have to do is the amount of markdown divided by the original selling price. So when we look at this example, a pack of pens sells for $2.99, originally sold for $3.69. So first we have to find the amount of markdown by subtracting the two, and it's 70 cents. And then we're going to do the amount of the markdown divided by the original price. So it's 0.70 divided by $3.69. So the markdown percent is 19%. So in your guided notes, it says your turn, a blender that originally sold for $60. I want you to pause the video and solve that and then come back. Okay, so the answer to a blender is on page 245. 245, example 12. So now let's take a look at this slide. Determining the sale price after a markdown. So the way that we do this is we do sale price equals original selling price times the quantity of 100% minus the markdown percent. So let's take a look at an example here. Megastore originally sold packs of 12 t-shirts for $15 each. If the packs were marked down by 25%, what is the sale price of the shirts? So we're going to basically plug everything into this equation. The shirts were originally $15. The markdown percent is 25%. We plug it all into this equation and we get $11.25 is the sale price of the shirts. So now let's take a look at determining the original price before a markdown. And the way that we do that is we do the sale price divided by 100% minus the markdown percent. So in this problem, the original selling price of a laptop case, which is currently on sale for $48 after a 35% markdown. So we are looking for what the original selling price of the laptop was. Just round your answer to the nearest cent. So we're going to use this equation. The sale price is $48, a 35% markdown. We plug it in. We find out that the original selling price was $73.85. So now I want you to do the your turn problems. Fernando's Hideaway, and then what was the original selling price of a backpack at Walmart? So go ahead and pause the video, solve those two problems, and then come back. All right, so you can check your answers to those two On page 245 and 246 of your textbook, we are almost done with this section. Just a few more things to take a look at. And the next thing is computing the final selling price after a series of markups and markdowns. So let's go over a few definitions first. We've got our staple goods, which are products that are routinely purchased, and they do not undergo seasonal fluctuations in sale. It would be like toilet paper, napkins, dish soap. Then there's seasonal goods. So these products have seasonal fluctuations in sales, and they go under a lot of markups and markdowns during the season. So the key here is when solving a series of markups and markdowns on seasonal goods, remember that each markup, markdown should be based on the previous selling price. And we will practice these, so you'll see how these are applied correctly. So as with the others, we are going to learn through examples, real-world examples, and apply what we're learning right away. So in this example, we will work through all of the markups and markdowns. In September, a tire shop purchased snow tires for $48.50 each. The original markup was 55% based on the selling price. In November, they were marked down 30%. December, they went back up 20%. In February, they were marked down 30% again, and in March, were cleared out with a final 25% markdown. What was the final selling price of the tires? Round your answer to the nearest cent. Okay, so we're going to do this step by step so that we won't get overwhelmed until we get to our final answer. So they purchased the snow tires, so their cost was $48.50. The original markup was 55% based on the selling price. So we need to figure out what the selling price is so that we know where we're starting. So we do that by doing the cost divided by 100% minus our percent markup. We do $48.50 divided by 0.45, and our selling price, our original selling price, was $107.78. So then in November, the tires were marked down 30%. So to calculate a markdown, you do 107.78 times 100% minus 30%, right? You're only paying, if they're marked down 30%, you're paying for 70%. So multiply those two, and the tires then cost $75.45. So that's the new selling price from this point. So from $75.45, they were marked up 20% in December. So that's our selling price, $75.45, and we added 20% to that. So you're taking the whole amount and you're adding 20%. And you get $90.54. That's the new selling price. Then in February, it was marked down 30% again. So we're going to mark down $90.54. Excuse me, mark it down 90%. Or, I'm sorry, 30%. So for a mark down, we're going to do some subtracting. So 90.54 times 100% minus 30%, which is 70%. You get $63.38. That's the price that you would have paid in February. So in March, they wanted to get rid of those tires, so they marked them down another 25%. So they marked the tires that were $63.38 down 25%. and you get $47.54. So that was the final price, the final sales price was $47.54. Okay, so now I want you guys to go in your guided notes in your turn. I want you to pause this video and take your time working through this scenario. So in March, Swim and Sport purchased designer bathing suits for $50 each. That's a problem I want you to do. All the steps are laid out here, so take your time, work through, and then come back. Okay, you should have had a chance to work through that problem on your own. Then you can check your answer on page 247 of your textbook and see how you did. If you have any questions, shoot me an email. Otherwise, we are going to go to the last section of Chapter 8, which is perishable goods. How do we calculate the selling price of perishable goods? So perishable goods are just products that do not last forever. It would be something like fruits, veggies, flowers, dairy products, anything like that that has an expiration. So to figure out the selling price of perishable goods, we take the total expected selling price divided by the total quantity minus the anticipated spoilage. So let's just go ahead and do some examples on this so you see what we're talking about. A flower shop purchases 800 dozen roses at a cost of $6.50 per dozen. If a 10% spoilage rate is anticipated, at what selling price per dozen must the roses be sold to achieve a 60% markup based on selling price? Round your answer to the nearest cent. So they're assuming that 10% of the roses that they get in will be damaged and they can't use them. So the cost, first we have to figure out the cost. So we have 800 dozen roses at $6.50 per dozen. So 800 times 650 is 5,200. And then we're going to calculate the selling price first, which is our cost divided by 100% minus the percent markup. So they do a 60% markup. So 5,200 divided by 0.4 equals 13,000. Then what we're going to do is we have to do the anticipated spoilage. So the anticipated spoilage is the total amount times the spoilage rate. So of 800 dozen roses, 10% are going to be spoiled. So that's 80 units or 80 dozen roses. So then we come back here and we plug it into this equation. 13,000 is the total expected selling price divided by the total quantity of 800 dozen minus 80 dozen. 13,000 divided by 720 equals $18.06 per dozen. So make sure that when you're reading these problems, you're using the correct units. So $18.06 per dozen. So right now I want you to go on your guided notes and I want you to do the your turn problem, the farmer's market problem. So pause the video here and then come back and we will finish up. Okay, you should have had a chance to do the farmer's market problem. You can check your work on page 248. Example 16 in your textbook breaks it down. And that is the end of chapter 8. Now in the guided notes, there's one last page of practice problems. And I want you to take a few minutes and work on those now. Reference your notes as needed and then come back and we will go over them. Okay, now we are quickly going to go over these problems, these chapter review problems. A jewelry store purchases watches for $53.07. The selling price is $89.95. What's the markup? What's the markup based on cost? So the markup is calculated at $36.88, and the markup based on cost is 69.5%. A store purchases sofas for $328.25 if the store policy is to mark up all merchandise 38% based on selling price. What is the retail selling price of the sofas? We do cost divided by 100% minus the percent markup. We get $529.44. So here is a markup and markdown problem. And the answers, June, July, So here are the answers. The original price should be calculated at $697.69. The markdown in April was $558.15. The markup in May was up to $613.97. The markdown in June took it down to $521.87. And then the final markdown in July was down to $469.68 for the golf clubs. Our last problem, a market purchased 460 pounds of sweet potatoes at 76 cents per pound. The 10% spoilage rate is anticipated. At what price per pound should the sweet potatoes be sold to achieve a 35% markup based on selling price? So first you have to figure out the cost. So the cost to purchase those sweet potatoes was $349.60. And then we need to calculate the selling price. So we calculate the selling price, cost divided by 100% minus 35%. Our spoilage was 460 pounds and times 10%, which was 46 pounds. We plug that back in to our equation. So the selling price divided by the total quantity minus the anticipated spoilage, we get $1.30 per pound. That's the end of chapter 8. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me and I'll be happy to help make additional videos, whatever you need.